Welcome to this lecture. My name is Mark Scythian. The date today is August 17th, 2025. So in this lecture we have a 64 square inch square inside of a circle. So the goal is to calculate the surface area of the circle based on knowing the surface area of the square. So we have 64 square inches area for the square. And the question to solve is, what is the area of the circle if the square has an area of 64 square inches? So we know all squares and circles are a totality of 360 degrees, whether that is in radians, 2 pi radians, or 360 degrees. So of course radians would be for the circle and degrees would be for the square or the triangle. So if we were to run a hypotenuse across this square, we would get 2 triangles. And so that's why triangles have 180 degrees and squares have 360 degrees. But we have to say 2 pi radians as the conversion from degrees to radians for the square to the circle. But what we really need to do is just translate the geometrical points relating the square to the circle. So we have 0, 90, 180, 270, and then of course 0 is also 360. And so we have a correlation between the degrees and the radians of the circle, but we'll keep everything in degrees. So if we were to get the square root of 64 square inches, the area of the square, this would be an 8 by 8 square, or an 8 inch by 8 inch square. So we can place crosshairs. So we isolate symmetry and then run a hypotenuse across the top right square, or any square for that matter. So now we're able to find a relationship of the hypotenuse becoming the radius of the circle. So basically the problem's been solved once we calculate the radius. So we can use trig function, and because we're placing symmetrical hypotenuse across the 90-degree angle, we have validated that it is a 45-degree angle. And so the trig function just isolates a 45-degree angle to its opposite side here. And so the 8 inches is the adjacent side. And of course the diagonal connect is the hypotenuse. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. And so if we take the sine of 45 degrees, it's made equal to the opposite side divided into 8 inches. We can just take the sine of 45 degrees and multiply it times 8 inches, which equates the opposite side. So 5.6568 inches, which we round up to 5.7 inches. So now we have the hypotenuse slash radius of the circle translated across the square to the circle. So the radius of the circle is 5.7 inches, and the area of a circle is pi r squared. So we could substitute the 5.7 inches into the r squared. So we calculate 102.07 square inches is the area of the circle. So thank you for watching this lecture and have a great day.